Welcome back to episode 16 of the 755 Followed Me Home project, a documentary on rebuilding rather than replacing a classic 55 series tractor. In this episode, we realize the 755 blind date story is evolving. It began as a linear project that had a beginning, middle, and an end. Now, the relationship has become complicated, and we need to talk. I just completed reinstalling the blind date injection pump into the overbought 755 tractor. The only things needing to be done now is to reinstall the fuel shutoff solenoid, fuel filter, clear the air out of the pump and lines, and start the engine. But before we do that, I need to talk to you about why it's taken so long to get to this point and some changes that may be coming to the channel. The story began with one neglected 755 and 70 loader with rusted hydraulic couplers. The goal was to document the reconditioning and tell the story of what happened between the time I bought it and the time it was sold. Simple enough. Then, another 755 and 855 became available, both with engine problems, and were bought again to recondition and become a part of our story. One tractor became three with 3 times the parts and the problems. Keeping track of it has been difficult at the least. So this brings us back to the question, why would I be reinstalling the injection pump that was originally in this engine? Well, to find that answer, we have to go back a few days. Episode 16 was to feature an engine start. There were only a few small things to do. The first was simply an annoying electrical connection. Some of the parts that don't come apart very often can deteriorate, but still work just fine. When I was going to connect the fuel shutoff solenoid to the wiring harness, both of these pieces had gotten hot, and I don't know if it was what eroded it in here, but what was happening was when I tried to connect them, these were rotated inside this connector and would not line up with the spade lugs in here. Let me see if I can get a better picture of that. So to replace them, just remember that the black wire goes into the upper center. The red wire goes to its side. And the corresponding wires go into the housing. I don't know if you can see it, but the spades are level, as are the sockets. Okay, we're good to go. And put a little motor oil around a cute little oil filter. Okay, well, it's time to put some oil in the motor. We're going to be using a John Deere Break-In Plus 10W30 oil. It's going to take 2.8 quarts. So see how much oil we've got in there. You got it right up there at full. And then of course we'll have to fill the filter yet. But we're okay to start cranking it over. I'll give you a look down in the radiator, see what it looks like before we put the fluid in it. So I don't see anything leaking yet. So in case this thing happens to run, let's top her off with the rest of the antifreeze. I'm using some Prestone. Alright, I'd like to check for leaks again. Make sure that the hoses are tight. We're down about 1/2 inch. That's enough to get going for now. Work the air out. Going to tighten it loosely. seem to be dry down there. There. That's good and tight. Tight there. Yep, everything seems tight. Well, we're finally getting close to see if this engine's going to run. Now what I'm going to do first, I'm going to prime this injection pump because I don't know anything about its history. This is the blind date pump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the glow plugs out and the controller off, and I'll just leave the injection lines off and see if we can get any fuel out of the injection pump. So we're going to do that now. So what I'm doing now is taking the caps off of this injection pump, and we're going to see if we can purge any air out of it, and also watch to see if the fuel shutoff solenoid opens. Excellent. Now that we know we have fuel coming out of the injection pump, it's time to put the injection lines back on. Again, with the glow plugs out of the holes, we'll take this cap off just to make sure we get a little freer air in there. But these three injection lines are loose up here at the injectors. So we're going to add some throttle, even though the governor probably has everything opened up. I'm going to owe some throttle, and we'll run this battery until maybe it runs down. What we want to look for is fuel coming out of these loose nuts. There we go. So what we've done is at least made it easy on the starter, and probably is going to hasten our engine start, which could be coming up shortly. Even though I had a set of glow plugs that tested okay, I'm going to go ahead and just put some new ones in here. As I said, to get around this air cleaner bracket, need to use a flex. So it's not easy. You'll see I've left the bulkhead out as well, just so I can get down in here. Actually, with this bracket modified the way it is, I think I can use a straight. Let me go get that. It looks like I can use this thin extension to get it in there. You may need to use a wobble joint. Okay, now we put the two more in. It's also worth mentioning that I ordered these through John Deere. Now some parts in John Deere catalog have an A hyphen and then a number, an M802 something. And then they'll have some that are just the A, or without an A, just an, and then they'll have some that are just an M. What the A dash means is it goes to AI, which is aftermarket. That is, I suppose those parts are competing against John Deere OEM. So just be aware of that. We should be starting to build compression when we spin her over now. Alright, let's get some wiring done. Before wiring up the glow plugs, I want to check to see if I have 12 volt coming from the glow plug controller. Okay, we look good there. I'll see if I can get this done so you can see it. I'm going to take the main glow plug feed, put it to that center glow plug, and set the nut using a 8mm socket. We'll crank her down. And tighten her down just a little bit. Well, I guess can't put it off any longer. Let's see if she'll start. Glow plug's showing, light went off. Try her again. Battery cable. It's always the little things. I've cleaned and tightened both of these battery connections. I think she might start. See what happens. One more time. I expected some air would still be in the injection system, but that wasn't what caught my attention. The sharp clicking or hammering noise was more concerning. Giving it a bit longer to work out any remaining air, the clicking was coming from one cylinder and became more constant. Since it didn't stabilize and wasn't running any better, I shut the engine down so I could check things out. Well, so much for our linear approach. To find out what's going on, I had to apply a lateral or a horizontal way of thinking. And while you're waiting on the next episode, tell me down in the comments what you think is wrong. Thanks for watching.